Alrighty, ladies and gents, welcome back. So today we're going to talk about our About Me collage project. For this project, we're going to be taking some things that you collected on the internet and that you took photos of, and we're going to be creating a collage that's kind of about us, but kind of abstract as well. It's not so much about what we're putting in as much as it is about learning the different techniques of selecting and removing objects from photos, putting them all together on a page, moving them around, and kind of understanding what we got going on. So today what we're going to cover is simply how to set up our collage documents, get our face onto that collage document, and start cutting it up, and moving things around, seeing what we like, seeing how things look, and so forth. So today we're going to talk about the different selection tools and how we can cut things up and move them around. So in Photoshop, what I'm going to do is the first thing is I'm actually going to create a new document. So I'm going to go to where you see the words Create New. And then this menu is going to pop up. So you're going to see a bunch of different things, but if you look to the right, you're going to see where it says Untitled 1. We're actually going to title this About Me Collage. And then below it, you're going to see width, height, all that. We're going to change the pixels to inches. So this is a menu where we can decide kind of what scale we want to work. And then what you're going to do is change the width to 12 and change the height to 15. And then below, now if you want to work vertical, you can. If you want to work horizontal, you can. There's no rule that says you have to, choose a different orientation. But this is basically saying the document will be landscape or the document will be portrait mode. So below that, you have the word resolution, and then this tells you basically how many pixels per inch are in the photograph. Well, what does that mean? Well, basically, pixels are what makes up the photographs in Photoshop. So if in a box that's in 1 inch by 1 inch, this is saying how many pixels do you want in that box. Obviously, the more, the clearer the resolution. But if we go too high, it's going to get kind of blurry, and it's going to look a little weird. So we always want to keep it at 300 and no more. So once you have all that, then click Create. And boom, you have a document here now. So this is going to be like the poster that we cut up all of our images off of and stick them onto this. Now, one thing I want to show you is at the top here, you're going to see where it says About Me Collage. I'll make this kind of big so you can see it. You'll see it says About Me Collage. When we open new things, like let's say we bring in the picture of our face, it's going to open it in a new tab. We're going to do our selection, so we're going to cut it from the background. And then we'll put it onto this page. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to open up our face. So I'm going to go to File, Open. I'm going to get my picture. And you'll notice it opens a new tab at the top. So this is a new working tab. And this is where we're going to do kind of our selections. We're going to learn how to select the face. We're going to learn how to kind of cut up the face, and we're going to learn how to do some of those things to get it onto that document. So the first thing, let's cut up our face. Let's get this kind of selection of how we want to cut this out. I'm going to actually change it, and if you want to change the color, you want to change the contrast, you want to do all that kind of stuff, we'll do that here in a minute. So selection tools. So the first thing that we learned was how to use the quick selection. And that's the fourth tool down. And when we click that, basically if you click, hold, and drag, it's going to try to select like pixels of the image. This is good for certain things. If we want a really perfect selection, that's great for that as well. If you go to select subject, remember we use that for the Warhol, that'll grab a selection of what it thinks is the main subject of the photograph. Now we have some other selection tools that we can use. Up at the top we have a lasso tool. A lasso tool is basically a free draw selection tool. So if I click, hold, and I draw, and then I go back to where I started, and then close the shape, it makes a selection. Now this one's good for getting unique shapes and cutting things out of faces and such. Really kind of cool to use. the other tool here is going to be the polygonal lasso tool. Now this tool allows us to cut up more geometric straight lines. So if I were to do a shape, it would make a more geometric shape. That one we're going to use a lot of for our collage because it looks like it's you're cutting it out of paper almost. It looks like the way scissors would cut something. A quick way to kind of deselect something to get rid of those ants is if you hit Control D on your keyboard, it will actually remove that. Okay, so there's one more tool in here that you can use, but you don't really need to. It's the magnetic. Basically, when I click, I let go and I drag, and this kind of like magnetizes to the difference in pixels. Kind of a tricky one to use, and it gets really crazy, so I would avoid using this tool unless I say we should use it. The one I'm going to use is the polygonal, and I'm going to create a cutout of my face and my neck that looks kind of like it was cut out of paper. So I'm going to go through here, and I'm going to get, cut around the ears. It doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, you want it to look kind of like it's cut out of paper. Then I'm going to cut out down towards the neck, and I'll get something kind of cool that makes it look geometric. Go up around the ear. Up to the hair. Follow that hair around. And then when I go to close this off, again, you want to look for the little circle around the polygonal icon there. Once you get that circle, you know you've found your starting point and you have your selection. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Control. I want to copy this selection and make it a new layer, a layer by itself. So I'm going to hit Control C to copy what I have. And that's copying everything in those dotted lines. And then I'm going to hit Control V to paste and make the new layer. So if you look over here, I have my cutout of my face. So now I want to do some different things with this. I want to make this black and white. I want to make this a little bit more contrasty, a little bit better, kind of imaging. So I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments. I'm going to make mine black and white. And you could leave it in color if you want. I'm going to adjust the contrast. Ooh, I'm going to go to actually levels for that. I like using levels for contrast a little bit better. Go to levels. This is just blacks, whites, and grays. So I'm going to make my blacks a little richer. Bring up the whites. Tone down the grays a little bit. I kind of like that there. Maybe a little bright on the whites. Maybe we'll reduce. There we go. Perfect. All right. So now I have this edited the way I want. And now I'm going to get this onto my collage poster board. So we're going to get it from this file over to the About Me collage. So how do we do that? If I double click or right click on my layer down here, I'm over in my layers menu. If I click on that and I go to duplicate layer, I'm going to title this face layer. And then you'll see it has the word destination and it says document. So what we can do is we can jump this over to the About Me collage document. So I'll click About Me collage and make sure it titled it face layer and then click OK. And check this out. Boom. I have my face on that layer. So if I grab my move tool, I can now move this face. Well, how do we resize it? How do we make it bigger? You can actually go up to the top here to these little dots that say Show Transform Controls, or you can try hitting on your keyboard Control T. Now I can resize this and make it a little bit bigger. The face is the main focal point of this assignment, so we want this nice and big in the middle. I'm going to hit Return, and it'll get rid of that blurriness. So there we go. So we have the face layer in. And we're going to be doing a lot of editing to this face. We're going to be cutting things apart, and we might not like some of those things. So I'm going to duplicate this face layer. I'm going to make 2 of them. So I'll go to Duplicate Layer. and then I'll click OK. So I have 2. And I'm going to just make one invisible just so it doesn't confuse me. All right, so let's learn how to cut this up now. Let's learn how to make this look kind of collage-y, cut-up-y, artsy. So we've learned the different selection tools, the polygonal and the lasso tool. You also have some shape selection tools, like a perfect circle. So if I hold shift, I can get a perfect circle of, Control D. I'm going to get a perfect circle and what I can do now is, let's say I wanted that perfect circle of my eye. I'm going to actually do that one more time. Go to my ellipse tool, hold shift, and I'm going to get a perfect circle. Again, you have to hold shift to get a perfect circle. So now I have a selection of an area, and I want to remove that area and make it a new layer. So how do I do that? I hit Control C to copy what I have inside that circle. I hit Control V to paste it. You could also go to Edit Paste. I hit Control V. Now look at my Layers menu. Boom. Pops up with the eyeball. And what I can do is I can move this, but you'll notice I still have the other eyeball behind it. Now you can leave that other eyeball behind it. You can move it around, you can leave it behind it, but let's say you wanted to cut out the eyeball that's behind. I need to first activate my face layer, and then I want to bring back that circular selection that I had. So I'm going to go to Select, Reselect, and you'll notice it pulls that up. And if I hit delete, boom, gone. Control D to get rid of the dancing ants. And now I have this hole and this free-flowing eyeball that I can move around. And what I could do is, let's say I move this eye, I could have flowers coming out of that hole, or I could have my hand coming out of that hole, or I could have something kind of coming out of that area, which looks kind of cool. Again, I can resize it, so if I hit Control T, I can make it bigger. I can make it smaller, could do different things with it. So let's try that again. Let's do a selection maybe with the polygonal lasso tool. So I'm going to activate my face layer. I'm going to do a polygonal lasso tool, and I'm going to cut half of my face so that I can move half of my face. So let's go, I'm going to go here. I'm going to go down to the bottom, and I'm just going to kind of come along the top, find the circle. So now I have that, and I want to make that cut out. Oops, sorry. I have that cut out, and I want to make it a new layer. So I hit Control C to copy what I have. I hit Control V to paste. It makes a new layer. But remember, I want to delete the half that's behind it now. So I click on, let me make my layers menu a little bigger here. I click on my face layer. I go to Select. I go to Reselect to bring back up that selection. And then I hit Delete. I'm going to hit Control D to get rid of the dancing ants. And now I have my face, which I have cut in half. What's kind of cool is I can do certain things again with this. I can hit Control T to transform. I could flip it upside down. I could flip it on the side. I could actually take this, ready? And if I grab this and drag the other way and flip it horizontal, can resize it, make it smaller. I can actually put it behind the face layer and do different things with it. I could actually change this and make it, instead of black and white, I could actually maybe make it that threshold that we did. Maybe if the first one you did was in color, right? Maybe if that face is in color for that first one, maybe that second one we do in black and white. So you have color and black and white. That could be kind of cool. But that's how I would make a selection and cut it out and make it kind of different. Now, a couple things. If you ever mess something up, you can hit Control-Z to undo. Also, that's why we made a duplicate face layer here. So if I unhighlight everything, I still have a normal working copy that I can try some new stuff with. Another thing that might be a tip is if you click in a layer, you should be able to rename that layer. So if I click and hold on a layer, see if it'll work. If I double click right on the words, right? So if I double click on layer 2, right over the words layer 2, I can title this half of face. Because you might have some small stuff that might be hard to see. So this is my eye. So if I double click, I could title this eye cutout. And so forth. So this way I can see some different things and some different effects and see how it looks and how it's working. And again, you have that backup layer. So making that duplicate allows me to go back and make any extra changes that I need to make. But other than that, the biggest thing is just making sure that you're, using cool cutouts. Use that polygonal lasso tool. One thing I would suggest is try using the same tool for all of your cuts. So if you're using the polygonal, continue to use the polygonal. It'll all look good. It'll look the same. Make sure you're just always checking where your layers are at and which layers you have activated, and that will help you as well. All right. So for today, your assignment is to first create your About Me collage document. You're then going to get your portrait photo into Photoshop, and you're going to get that cut out and put onto the collage document like I did. Okay, you'll take a screenshot and submit that to Canvas for completion grade. And then other than that, you'll be good to go. Our next lesson, we'll talk about how to add flowers, how to add hands, where to put some of those things, how to add textures, and all that good stuff. So that's it for our first lesson, and we'll see you guys next time.